Stranded in the Delta Quadrant, Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation starship Voyager sets a course for home and the Alpha Quadrant, causing some of fandom to raise their eyebrows and ask, does that make sense? Hello and welcome to another episode of Does That Make Sense? A Star Trek themed web series that discusses various odd or inconsistent Trek topics brought up over the years by you, this channel's audience. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the course set by Captain Catherine Janeway to get her crew back to Earth as soon as possible. And as always, I'll be playing devil's little advocate about this topic, in order to foster amazing discussions in the comments section. So without further ado, let's dive in and ask the simple question, does that make sense? You all know the story. The Caretaker, a Nacine, a Sporocystian life form with very advanced technology, began grabbing starships and crews from all over the galaxy in an attempt to mate and find a replacement for themselves to protect the Accompin species. And of course, one of those starships captured was the Federation starship Voyager, who was searching the Badlands for the Maquis ship the Valjean, which was similarly captured by the Caretaker. Forced to destroy the Caretaker's array and their only way home, Captain Janeway would combine the two crews of the stranded starships and immediately set a course for Earth, a journey that will take Voyager about 75 years at its maximum cruising speed. For most of fandom, myself included, that all made sense, at least in terms of the course set by Voyager. But for some in fandom, they didn't understand it at all, and here's why. The Bajoran wormhole. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, years before Star Trek Voyager was even a glimmer of a series, had well established the gateway between the Alpha and Gamma quadrants. And this minority of fandom began to ask the question as to why Voyager wasn't hightailing it to the Gamma side of the wormhole. Generally, it's believed that from Voyager's position in the Delta Quadrant, the Bajoran wormhole was a closer destination. The exact distance is unfortunately unknown to Alpha Canon, but Beta Canon sources place it anywhere from 40,000 to 60,000 light years. That means a travel time of about 45 to 65 years. Now, if we assume that either of these distances is accurate, even deducting a decade from their travel is a big deal. And subtracting 30 years, well, that's a major deal. But there are a few problems with this whole idea. First, we don't actually know how far away Voyager was from the Gamma side of the Bajoran wormhole. And we can rest assured that the writers would have made it further away than a direct course to Earth. I mean, that was the whole premise for Voyager after all. But putting that problem aside, there's another glaring problem with this whole theory. That being, it wasn't guaranteed. Yes, we know that DS9 told us constantly that the Bajoran wormhole was stable. But we also know that it's controlled by the Prophets, not Starfleet. And so at any point it could be closed and Starfleet couldn't do a thing about it. Now imagine you're Janeway, looking at the option of a direct course for Earth, a 75-year journey, or a course for the Bajoran wormhole through the Gamma Quadrant, potentially a 65-year journey, and you can see why she'd choose the former. Imagine traveling 65 years to the location and suddenly finding a closed for business sign on that wormhole. You would have just wasted your entire original crew's lives on a gamble. But setting a direct course for Earth was a sure thing, so even spending 75 years to get there meant you'd definitely get your crew home. Now, I've seen a third reason that people will use to disprove this entire idea, but I don't buy it. I'll often see at least one person say that Janeway wouldn't go through the Gamma Quadrant because Voyager could and would eventually end up encountering the Dominion. And to that I say, and? The problem with that whole notion is Janeway and fandom is well aware that the Borg are in the Delta Quadrant. And yet she sets a course basically through the heart of the Delta Quadrant, almost guaranteeing an eventual encounter with the Collective. And that didn't seem to bother her. So whether you're a Dominion is scarier foe or vice versa, it doesn't really factor into this at all, as both directions would have a major enemy you'd eventually have to contend with. So again, I don't buy that argument at all. But what do you think? Do you think Voyager should have set a course for the Bajoran wormhole? Do you think that such a course would have been far too much of a gamble? Do you think that that course was even considered and denied because of the Dominion? Well, leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments section below. I'm looking forward to reading what you have to say. But for now, live long, good trinaries, and prosper.